Hey guys, it's Brian. We're back in the garage with the Frostbite JL, and today we are replacing our steering. We're going with a hydraulic ram and a new box. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright guys, let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. So we got a new box from West Texas Off-Road. This is their redneck ram box. So what they do is they take a brand new factory box and then they go ahead and they port it. They drill it, tap it, and port it so you can run your hydraulic lines. So with their kit, you do get new hydraulic lines, and then you also get a new ram. It comes with all the heim joints and everything, so that's pretty easy. We also went with a Next Venture Motorsports bracket at the track bar side. We did modify this a little bit to work with my setup. And then we also went with a 4x4 garage mount for on the tie rod. This thing's pretty beefy, these are pretty cool. All right, and then one thing to note when you're doing this, you do need to get special power steering fluid. So you can get the Mopar stuff, but it's about twice as much. Redneck Ram actually suggests using this CHF 11S, and you can actually get this online or at AutoZone. It's a lot cheaper and you do need 2 jugs of it, so it's good to go that route. One more thing I want to note, you do need a flared wrench for getting those power steering lines off at the box. So I picked one of these up, I'll put links down below. So what we need to do for this is go ahead and rip our fender off and start taking the old box out. Let's go ahead and get started. So to get started, we need to get to our power steering box. So for this, we need to pull off our driver's side fender. Grab your 10mm, pull the bolts out. Don't forget to unhook your wiring harness, and then this will rip right off. We've gone over this in other videos. It's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and uninstall this fender, and then we'll get access to that box. All right, here we go. Guys, now that we got all those bolts pulled, let's go ahead and pull the fender off. It's pretty easy. We've done this before. You just grab right here and rip. All right, and then if you come take a look, we only broke a few of these. These other ones you can actually get behind here with pliers and pull them out. It's pretty easy, but don't forget to go ahead and unhook this. You just pop the red tab, squeeze it, and pull it out, and that's going to get us access to the steering box. So you can see right through here by the windshield washer, you can see our steering box there. So once we open up this fender, you get great access to it. So you can see there's a little bolt right there. We're going to need to pull that. That's the linkage to your actual steering wheel. You do want to go secure your steering wheel so it doesn't move at all, because if you do clock it, you can break your clock spring. So we want to go ahead and secure the steering wheel. You can do that with a ratchet strap, and then we'll pull that guy off. So I want to show you what I'm talking about with the steering wheel. So I went ahead and just put a little ratchet strap on here down to the seat adjuster on the bottom. That's just to hold some tension on this. And like I said, that's so you don't break your clock spring. If you do unhook that steering box and then start cranking on the steering wheel, like hop in here and you forget, you will actually break that. And I don't want to have to learn how much that is, so go ahead and do this. It's cheap insurance. Let's go ahead and unhook it. Now that we got our fender off, I want to go ahead and show you what we're working with. So you can see down in here, that's going to be our steering box. You can also see our lines there for the power steering fluid. That's what we're going to use that box wrench that I showed you. That's the flared 18mm. I'll put links down below. Then there's a 13mm holding the connector to the steering wheel, and then I've got some 19mm now for my steering box. They are factory, they're about an 18mm. I've swapped those out for longer bolts, so those are 19mm now for those 4. But before all that, we got to unhook our drag link, and that's going to be this tie rod end down here at the Pitman arm. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we'll pull that cotter pin, we'll loosen that nut, and then hopefully this pops out fairly easy. If not, we'll get the pickle fork out and get that out. We'll want to get that out before you unhook it here, just so it's in here pretty good. You got somewhere to work. So once that's out, we'll start pulling the box. Now that we got that cotter pin out, we're going to take our 22mm. The factory size is going to be a little different. We're going to pull that castle nut off, and then we should be able to start getting this guy off. I might need a pickle fork. Sometimes if you just heat it up a little bit, tap it with a hammer, sometimes it will pop down. We'll see how it goes. So we did finally get this tie rod end separated from the Pitman arm. It did take a little effort. Came off a little harder than it did the last couple times I pulled it. Do want to get your trusty pickle fork and a decent sized sledge. I did actually end up hitting it with the heat gun for a little bit and putting some penetrating lube down in the hole there. So I think that helped. We finally got it off, so now we can go ahead, disconnect the tie rod here, and we start working on getting that box off. Now that we got the Pitman arm disconnected from the drag link, we're going to go ahead and drop our track bar. So once the track bar is out of the way, we can get up at our sucker shaft nut, which is that guy right there. I do have the Synergy brace here, so this is the nut that comes with that. So that's going to take a 42 millimeter. We're going to go ahead and loosen that while we're still bolted to the frame. That way it's easier to get that nut loose. Once we go ahead and get that loose, we can pull the box off, and then we can, at the table, use our Pitman Arm puller tool that we rented from AutoZone and get that Pitman Arm off and swapped over to the new box. So let's go ahead and do that. This is where we're at. We got that track bar out. We went ahead and unbolted all the supporting bolts there for our Synergy bracket. So now all we got to do is take out these 4 19 millimeters. These are going to be 18 on the factory setup. And then we're also going to pull those hard lines there, and we're going to pull that bolt right there. That's a 13 millimeter. That's what goes up to your steering wheel. So we'll pull that guy off, and then we'll work on these hard lines, and then I'll pull the whole box out, and then we can get that Pitman Arm off on the bench. Now we're going to go ahead and we'll pull that 13 millimeter. I'll show you how we do that. Alright, now that's out. This should slide up. It's kind of got an accordion section to it. So as you can see, I can slide her right up off this shaft here. There we go. And then we'll just reconnect that to the new box. You can see there's a little bit of a concave groove on the bottom there. That's right where that bolt rests on the actual steering box, so it retains that shaft there. Now we're to the point we're going to break into those hard lines. So go ahead and get your flared wrench. This is going to be that 18 millimeter. You want to use these so you don't round off that nut. If you use a regular 18, you can do it. Just be real careful because you might round it. So let's go ahead and we'll use this. We'll break these free, and then we've got some caps. We're going to try to cap it so we don't lose too much fluid. So I'll show you what that looks like down in here. So we're going to pull that one to the rear of the vehicle first. I did loosen this up a bit so we can get in here a little better. And these are not on there super tight. I think specs around 20 to 30 foot-pounds. I'll put what it actually is down below. We'll check it before we put them back in. So you want to have possibly a Ziploc ready and one of these caps. Looks like I'm going to need the bigger one, potentially. Alright, we're going to unscrew that guy and try to catch as much as we can. So you look, I did spill a little bit, not too bad. Did figure out which size cap you want. You want this size. I'll put a link to these down below. I did get these on Amazon, but these actually thread on, which is pretty cool. So once you pull that out, you can thread this on real quick, and that'll save you some of your fluid. It does just kind of seep out, so you want to get that cap fairly quick. We did get a little bit on there, but none on the floor. So let's go ahead and get this other one off, and then we can loosen those 4 19 millimeters and pull the box. Okay, now that we got those guys capped off, I threw a little Ziploc bag on there so we don't get any leakage. We didn't have too much, but these do continue to come out if you don't stop it somehow. So now that that's disconnected, our box is all disconnected from all its components. All we got to do is go ahead and pull these 19 millimeters down here at the frame. Once those are out, this whole box should come right out. So let's go ahead and get these guys loose and pull the box out. Alright, there's that old box. Let's go ahead and get this Pitman arm pulled and we'll get the new one up in there. So now that we got the box out, we've got both of them on the bench here. What we need to do is get this Pitman arm off and get it onto the new box. The new box is already kind of set for center, so we just need to pull this guy off and transfer it over. You do need a special tool for this. I'll go ahead and get that out and show you how to use this. If you come and take a look, we did go ahead and rent a light truck Pitman arm puller. This is going to be the one from AutoZone. So this is what it looks like. Cool thing about this is it's got the support bolts on both sides to keep this from spreading under load. If you get one of the cheaper ones, they can actually start bending and flexing, and then you can't pull your Pitman arm off. So what we're going to do is get this guy bolted up. It says not to use an impact, so we're not going to do that. We'll just put the breaker bar in a socket on this end and slowly tighten it. You can hit the Pitman arm with a hammer to kind of shock it as you loosen it and then tighten it some more. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to get this on the Pitman arm and then we'll try to get it off. Alright, so I want to show you guys on the new box, when you go to put the Pitman arm on, there is a nice large groove on the splines. So they actually already centered up my box here on the new one, and they paint marked it, which is really nice. So that's all centered and ready to go. when we go to hook it back up onto the shaft that leads to the steering wheel. Now let's go ahead and get this tool on. We'll try to pull our old Pitman arm off. It's going to take a 27mm for this guy, and it's kind of pointed at the end, but if you look at your sector shaft, it does have a nice hole for it, so it's designed for this tool. So we'll go ahead and get this hooked up. See, it's nice that it has these support bolts on the side, because this was trying to pop off here when I was trying to fit it up, but it does just barely fit in there. I got these guys snug, and then now this is seated flush up against here. So what we're going to do is slowly tighten this, and this should draw that Pitman arm off of our sector shaft. So let's go ahead and start doing that. There she goes. Alright, so now we freed our Pitman arm from the sector shaft. So that tool actually works great, and it doesn't cost you anything to go rent it. It's pretty nice. So now that we have this off, let's go ahead and throw this on the new box. Okay, guys, so we went ahead and cleaned up the old Pitman arm. We're going to throw it back on here. Like I said, this is already lined up, and if you look in here, you can see the little groove where it'll index in there. So let's go ahead and line that up, and we'll tighten that bolt down. Now that we got our old Pitman arm on our new steering box, it's time to go ahead and hook up the fittings for the hydraulic lines. They do supply 2 of these 90s. You could either put these down at the ram and then use these pre-bent 90s up at the box, or put these down at the ram and then we're going to attach these 90s here. I want to go ahead and get all our hydraulic lines hooked up to our box here at our ported sections, just so we're not fighting it and trying to tighten those while it's up inside the vehicle. There's not much clearance, so doing it here makes it 100 times easier. You go ahead and come over here and take a look. I'll show you where we're looking at. So this is where they drilled and ported your factory box, here and here. So we're going to go ahead and pull these caps off and then attach our 90 degrees, get those nice and tight, and then we can attach our lines, and then we'll put this all up into the vehicle together so we don't have to worry about trying to tighten these later. So let's go ahead, we'll get this all hooked up, and then we can start throwing the box in. Now on these, you want to get them tight, but you don't want to over tighten them because you can strip them out. So you want to get them tight enough that they don't leak, but not too tight that you strip them. So we'll go ahead and we'll try to find where it works best with these. They do kind of swivel a little bit, and then you can tighten them down and then they'll stay in that position. So we'll try to find the best route here for the 90 degrees. We do want our longer line coming off this one and going down, and then we'll put the shorter one here on this main section here. Okay guys, and I wanted to mention I am going to use a little bit of thread sealer. This one from Permatex is actually a high temp one, and it's actually made for hydraulic, pneumatic, and cooling lines. So we're going to go ahead and use this stuff. You only put 3/4 of a turn of it on there, and you don't put it on your first threads. So we'll go ahead and put this on, and then that should help us seal up here at the box so we're not having any leaks. So we'll go ahead and use that. Okay, so now that we've gone and gotten our 90-degree fittings on at the box, I'm going to do some more sealant and we're going to start hooking up our lines. So the longer line that they provide goes to the top of the box, and the slightly shorter one goes here to the side of the box. So we're going to go ahead and hook those up, and then we should be able to get the box in the Jeep. And before we go ahead and put our new hydraulic lines on our box, I did go ahead and pick up some hydraulic hose protector. This kind of goes around the outside of it. It's plastic. It protects the hose in case you get pinched or whatnot between your track bar. So this stuff's definitely worth its cost. This stuff's pretty cheap, and it'll save you a pinch line on the trail. So we're going to go ahead and put this on our lines before we hook it up to the box. I think it'll be easier, and then we can go ahead and get our box in the vehicle. So we went ahead and put our protector on our hydraulic hoses here. So this will protect it against kind of chafing and then any kind of pinching that we might get on the trail or with the track bar. This will definitely protect it. So now that we got these on both our lines, here, let's go ahead and we'll get these guys tightened down. We do have sealant on here. We're going to get these all tightened, and we'll get it back in the Jeep. Okay guys, so we got our Synergy bracket back in. We got it all torqued down. If you guys are running this bracket, these guys are going to be 60 foot-pounds, And then when you come up and you put the box bolts back in, those are 99. So we got those all torqued down. We got these guys torqued. We're ready to go ahead and tighten up our sector shaft bolt, which is going to be that guy. We are going to do that though after we connect our linkage here. That's because this box likes to turn all the way to lock, and then you can torque that nut. So we're going to go ahead and hook that up while everything's still straight and lined up, and then we're also going to hook up our lines there as well. Once we do that, we should be able to go ahead and set up our ram down here. I want to show you guys the clearance. So that's how she sits. Plenty of room. And then we'll hook the ram up down here. We'll go lock to lock, get everything all hooked up correctly, and then we can put our drag link back in. Let's go ahead and we'll button her up here. Went ahead and lined up our little coupler there for the intermediate shaft on the steering. So this bolt's going to be torqued down to 40 foot-pounds. This is a 13 millimeter that goes right in there. Then we'll connect our lines. Those are torqued to 21, but we're just going to get them nice and tight. As tight as we can when they're not leaking. We don't want to strip those. So we'll get those guys in, get that guy hooked up, and then we can go ahead and tighten that Pitman arm nut to 184 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead, we'll get that all buttoned up, and then we can start working on that ram. Hey guys, it's Brian. We're back here in the garage with the Jeep, and it's going to be day 2 on our steering install. So yesterday we went ahead and got the new box in from Redneck Ram. We got it all put together, put the Pitman arm on it, got everything plumbed up, and it's all good to go. So now today we're going to install the ram. So I'm going to show you what that entails. We got a couple brackets that we're going to use, and then we'll get that ram on there, and then it's time to bleed it, and then we should be all set. So let's go ahead and take a look at the ram. So this is going to be that ram from Redneck Ram. So we went ahead and threw a clear coat on here just so it doesn't corrode at all. And then also we got that bracket from Next Venture Motorsports. It did have a top loop here, but it was going to be too steep of an angle on our ram, so we went ahead and cut it. And then I had that bracket welded on by my buddy John. I'll show you some of that. Once we got that on, we got this guy all painted up. That's how it's going to sit in there. I do have the bolt running up with the head here. It is pretty low clearance on my Synergy tie rod, so definitely want to do it that way. And I'm also going to have it installed before I put this bracket up on the Jeep, because there's no way to get it on with the tie rod installed. You could drop one end of the tie rod, but this is easier. This is that new track bar bolt that comes from Next Venture. It is a tad too long. It was hitting my axle tube, just kind of on the end there, the last thread or so. So I'm going to double up washers. That should buy us the clearance that we need. This bolt's just a hair too big for the stock axle. So we went ahead and also got a bracket from the 4x4 garage. Chris over there made this for us. We got it all painted up with some nice roll bar chassis paint, so that's all cleaned up. These brackets are pretty cool. If you haven't watched my video on that, go ahead and check it out. He does include this hardware kit with these misalignment spacers, which are pretty nice. So it fits perfect right here with our end here on the ram. So we're going to go ahead and get that mocked up as well. Cool thing about these is they are knurled on the inside, so it definitely will keep us from getting this loose on the trail when that ram's really pushing. So let's go ahead and we'll throw this on the Jeep. I'll show you what it looks like, then we can start tightening stuff up. So what holds this bracket on is going to be the sway bar link, the factory position over here with an 18 millimeter, and then the track bar bolt. And that's what secures that. So let's go ahead, we'll throw this on the Jeep, and then we can start running our hydraulic lines for the ram, and then we can get it bled, and then we should be all done. Okay, we got the vehicle up on the jacks here, and we're cycling the steering. So we do go ahead and disconnect the drag link there, and then we're just going to cycle this lock to lock. One of the important things to remember when you guys are doing a ram and measuring for it, you want to account for the throw of the Pitman arm, and then the travel of the tie rod from lock to lock, and then also the travel of the ram. So you want all three of those things to coincide, because if that ram goes farther than any one of those other components, it can damage stuff. So that's another thing to consider when you are going ahead and measuring for this ram. So now that I've cycled it, I have noticed a couple things. Looks like that next venture bracket has a little bit of a booger there on the weld. It's actually digging into my Synergy tie rod there, if you can see that. So when it's traveling full passenger, you can see there where the paint's missing, it's hitting right there. So I am gonna have to go ahead and clearance it. I don't know if that's just because of this Synergy tie rod. I don't know if they designed it to work with a different tie rod or not, but you can see there it's hanging down a little bit. It's just enough that it's digging in there. So we are going to go ahead and try to get the grinder up in there. It's kind of an interesting spot, but we'll try to knock that down a little bit and we'll touch it up with some paint. Looks like, other than that though, everything else is looking pretty good. So we are going to run our tie rod full passenger till we hit the bumps, and then that's where we're going to set this guy, and then we'll bolt up this 4x4 garage bracket, and then we should be all set to go ahead and start hooking everything back up. So let's go ahead and we'll button it up, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like, and then we'll start bleeding the system. Went ahead and got it all buttoned up here. Wasn't too hard. Now that we round down that bracket, we actually do have clearance on full passenger lock there. It is just barely, but it clears now. So that bracket was just a hair too big. So another thing that I had a little bit of clearance issues was with this diff cover. That little welded on C was actually hitting the bolt head on the back side of this at full driver lock. So what I had to do, I had to go ahead and clock it forward slightly. You see, like that? That way I can clear that C and still go full driver side lock. It's not ideal, but we do have those misalignment spacers in there which help. And what that does is that allows this ram to kind of sit at that angle and still be sitting straight up. So that should be good. Only thing that really did is it got us a little bit farther away from perfectly parallel with the tie rod. I could go ahead and pull that bottom spacer there at the track bar bracket and put it on top, and that'd get me pretty dang close. But we've got that all in. We did check our clearances going full lock to lock on everything. We are sitting at right about 3.5 inches here with the steering wheel dead straight. So that means we're right in the middle of the travel of the ram, which is good. And then you guys saw I ran it all the way passenger, fully collapsed that ram, and then that got us our setting point there for the clamp. So now that this is all in, I'm gonna go ahead and start hooking up our hoses here, and then we can start bleeding this and we can get her back on the road. Okay, so now that we have everything buttoned up, we got our tie rod back on, we've checked all our clearances, we've got this mount here set where we need to, where it's not hitting the diff cover. We're going to go ahead and start bleeding the ram. So on these electric assisted steering boxes on the JL, it's very important that you get it bled really well, or you'll get a lot of cavitation and it'll actually ruin it. So what I did is I made a little water bottle, put a little straw in there, a little rubber hose, and what we're going to do is fill up our ram, so that way that's bled, so we have a better chance of getting the whole system bled quicker. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to run it lock to lock and fill it up, and then we can go ahead and start filling up at the motor, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so we went ahead and used our little bottle trick here, and we got these filled up pretty good. We went back and forth a few times. I think we got it about as full as we can get it. We got it back to neutral, filled them both up. Now we're going to connect our lines, our hydraulic lines. I'm going to use more of that sealant like we used earlier when we were putting the box together. Get those on, get them nice and snug and tight, and then we can go up and we can start turning the steering wheel and bleeding the whole system. Okay, now that we've had these routed the way that we kind of like them, we're going to kind of zip tie them back up like this underneath here. So I think this will work pretty good. We'll check clearances later. Now that everything's buttoned up here and sealed, we're going to come up top here. You're going to go to your power steering fluid reservoir here. I just cut up a little water bottle, put in there, and then we're going to take our CHF, this 11S stuff, and we're going to slowly fill this while we turn the wheels back and forth. Now we're going to do this for a while with the vehicle off, let it suck down all the fluid, make sure we get all the bubbles out, and then we're going to turn the vehicle on real quick, go lock to lock, turn it off, fill it again. We're going to do that several times until no more bubbles come out of this, until we have this filled all the way. So this might take a while. They did tell me this is going to take about a can and a half of this stuff, so it is going to take quite a bit of fluid, so make sure you buy 2 of these. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that, and then we'll come back and let you know how it turned out. Okay guys, we are all done with the install of our new steering box from West Texas Off-Road, the Redneck Ram setup. We went ahead and got the ram in, we got everything plumbed as you guys saw, we got our brackets on, everything's clear and we don't have any issues there. I do need to still go flex it out, make sure those hydraulic lines aren't pinching on anything, but we should be good to go. We got it all bled, that took a little bit, so take your time, be careful with that. Everything's torqued down and it actually drives great. All I gotta do is throw that fender back on and then we should be all done. I'm going to go ahead and put links to all the parts we use down below, and then you also want to get some extra stuff like having that extra fluid, having that chafe guard on the hydraulic lines, and then also you want some more fender clips because you will break some when you take that fender off. So once we get this all buttoned up, we're going to be all set. We'll get it on the road. I'll let you guys know here in a few weeks how it does on the rocks. We're going off-roading here in a week or so, so we'll get a good chance to test that out here in Oregon. Alright guys, go ahead and like, subscribe and share if you like. Go ahead and leave a comment down below, let me know what you think or if you're running this setup, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks guys.